What it do, Durag Nation? Sony ponies. PlayStation players are angry, and coping Xbox console warriors are celebrating after news broke about Sony planning a big multi-platform expansion, with some fans worried that exclusives like Spider-Man and God of War will be making their way to Xbox and Nintendo Switch 2 in addition to PC. And while it's true Sony is indeed expanding its horizons when it comes to being exclusive, it's not quite as wild as people are making it out to be. There's actually a pretty big misunderstanding about what this news actually is. So don't start smashing your console, because today on PlayStation News, I'm going to quickly break down what's actually going on, why it's happening, and what the future of PlayStation exclusivity will realistically look like. First, Hulk smash that like button to share the news, or change it to a dislike if the video was dog water. So contrary to what panicking people are wondering, PlayStation is actually doing good. In addition to not having mass layoffs this year, they just invested $465 million into Bandai Namco, who gained a whole new fan base after the huge success of Elden Ring, but is most known for their anime output, which is one of the reasons Sony cited for the investment. It appears they're looking to have more Sony branded anime TV and film adaptations, and yes, video games. But it's the video games that have people concerned. There was already a sentiment among fans that this console generation was a letdown due to having fewer overall exclusives so far than the PS4. And now that frustration has increased after this recent news. According to this new job posting from Sony, they are looking to hire a senior director of multi-platform and account management. The overview of the job description is what has made people panic. Quote, "You will play a critical leadership role in shaping and executing the global commercial strategy for PlayStation Studios software titles across all digital platforms beyond PlayStation hardware, including Steam, Epic Games Store, Xbox, Nintendo, and mobile. They are also further expected to lead a high-performing team focused on multi-platform expansion." At first, it seems pretty straightforward. Sony wants to have its PlayStation Studios titles on all platforms. It sounds similar to the Xbox multi-platform strategy they adopted after Phil Spencer admitted there was no way they could ever beat PlayStation in console sales no matter what games they put out. Which makes you wonder, why would Sony follow a similar plan? It's true, despite some fan grumbling, Sony has dominated this console generation. In total so far, Sony has sold 75 million PlayStation 5s compared to 32 million for the two Xbox Series consoles, meaning Sony controls 70% of the next-gen console market. So why the pivot? Money. We saw signs of this when Square Enix announced, after years of exclusivity deals with Sony, they are now taking Final Fantasy multi-platform over to PC and Xbox after reportedly disappointing sales of both Final Fantasy XVI and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Sony's biggest hit of 2024, Helldivers 2, recently announced they were expanding to Xbox, and the studio revealed their next game would not be published by PlayStation following a big new investment from Tencent. Plus, despite strong console sales in total, they've overall been on the decline, dropping 11% for the year ending in March 2025, which is credited to the fact that pretty much everyone who wants a PS5 already has it. To top it off, the best-selling PS5 game of the year so far is actually an Xbox game. Forza has sold more units on the PS5 than Monster Hunter Wilds, AC Shadows, and Death Stranding 2, though it is unlikely, of course, to outsell October's Ghost of Yotei. But that's a pretty big W for both Xbox and PlayStation. Xbox gets big money by just doing a port of an old game, and Sony gets a bunch of game sales from doing nothing. So why wouldn't they want to get in on that action? It's why we've seen them be more aggressive porting things over to PC, which worked wonderfully for Stellar Blade. Now, does this mean Marvel's Wolverine, Spider-Man 3, and God of War Egypt will launch day one on Xbox and Steam? Of course not. If you read the job description, the first responsibility says, oversee the out-of-year, mid-range, commercial strategy for PlayStation Studios titles across all non-PlayStation platforms. Out-of-year or mid-range means it will be at least 1 year, probably 2, before you'd see something like the new Naughty Dog game on PC, let alone Xbox. Which makes sense, because PlayStation makes most of its money from the PlayStation Store, not console sales. And without exclusives, people don't have a reason to use the store. Live service games are different though. For those games, you want as many people playing as possible because you're getting your money off microtransactions. So I do expect future Sony live live service offerings to launch on multi-platforms. But in terms of the single-player games and the PS6, the only other platform you should expect any of those games to launch on is the PS5. Exclusives will probably always be important to Sony because with the new Xbox essentially being a PC, you're going to need a reason to join the PlayStation ecosystem instead of Microsoft's. And that reason is being able to play the best games when they come out. Sony IP like Jak and Daxter could also see new life if they are ported over to Switch 2 or Xbox. But Marvel's Wolverine, that one is for sure launching day one on PS5 only. Speaking of Wolverine, Insomniac could have as many as 3 new exclusive Marvel games launching before the PlayStation 6 rolls out. Click the video on screen to learn more.